Hi everybody, how are you doing? Jo back here. Time to grab a coffee, and today we're going to have a chat about card. One of the things I've noticed is quite a few crafters have been asking me questions on card stock, so I thought we'd have a little chat on just various types of card, because it's not always easy writing an answer. So bear with me, and that's what we're going to do today. I have created a little design which I thought we could have a play with and create in a minute, but that is just as part of the talk on the cardstock. I must thank those that have asked about my health, and I'm feeling tons better, thank you. Still got a croaky voice and a bit of a cough here and there, but taking a while to get over it, but I'm getting there, which is good, thank you. So grab your coffee or your water, whatever or tea. Maybe you fancy a cup of tea, depending obviously what time it is. I mean, it might even be a gin. I don't know what time you're watching me, do I? So, when it comes to white cardstock, personally, I do find once you cut card down and have pieces like this, for me, you never know what type of white cardstock it is. Obviously, I know you can feel how thick it is. But when I started off, I used to buy lots of different white cardstock, different prices, and I would almost have it in lots of different containers and label it all with the different type. And in the end, I found that I'm one of those people, I quite often, I mean, I love inks, as you know, I love blending with ink, but I also quite often introduce water. Now, the key with water is, if you're introducing, the way that cardstock is made, the way that paper and card is made, is obviously there's a pulp involved and water. And what happens is, if you have a lot of chalk content in that pulp, which then goes into the card, it won't take water well. So one of the early things I learned was that if you want a good quality card and you want to be able to splash water at it, have a cardstock with a low chalk content. Now, you will know, if you get a piece of card that's got a lot of chalk in it, excuse the shadow with my hands, what you'll notice is that when you add water, it will, and say you try to move it with a brush, it will go back to pulpy. Obviously, the way it's formed, it will almost go like pulp, and the top surface will come off your card. And so that's what I mean. And it's not easy finding out what cardstock has got a high chalk content and what has got a low, other than buying a piece and trying it. So I thought I'd tell you my 3 favourites. Now, I know one lady, particularly from Canada, has messaged me and asked. And I think the thing is, just find out what's available in your area. So the main ones I'm going to mention is the first one, I've got some here, is the multifarious card from Lavinia. Now, I know Lavinia do shop worldwide and they do various packs. Now, this is, I think it's a 330 GSM. So it's a good thick-ish cardstock. Super smooth, so it's easy to blend on, but it's very, very good with water. But I have to be honest, it's slightly more expensive than others. So I must admit, I keep this for sort of my best work. And if it's something where I'm, say, practicing a technique or practicing for a workshop, I have 2 others that I would tend to use. But the multifarious, in my opinion, is the best, top of the range. But like I say, being perfectly honest, it does cost a few more pennies. So I keep that as my best. So that's my multifarious. The other ones that I can recommend is, and again, I'm thinking what's easily available. There's a cardstock called Centura Pearl, and I think this comes from Crafter's Companion. And this has this Centura effect on one side. But this piece, the only piece I could find, would you believe, was double-sided. But a lot of it is coated on one side, but plain on the other. And if you use the reverse of the Centura Pearl, that's really, really good. It takes inks, it takes water. It's a shame because you're paying for the pearly side, but obviously you're going to use the plain side. But that, you can get some very good offers on that. So that Centura Pearl that's only coated on one side, the opposite side is perfect, and that's very good with water. So I have a couple of others. Pink Frog in the UK, they do a really good super smooth. I think that's 300 GSM, and that's really good with water and inks. And then the final one, the one that I tend to do a lot of work with, is a stencil card from Clarity Stamp. Now again, I'm sure they ship, if not have a base in the US. They certainly used to, I'm not sure if they still do, but that would be worth looking up. Their stencil card. They have a card called The Other Card. I don't mean that one, that's not as good. That's got chalk in it. But this stencil card is excellent. And for me, I only deal with these, so that if I find an offcut, I know it will take water. And again, if you're somebody like me and uses water a lot, it is important to get a card that I know I can add water to. So I know that all my bits that I find will be either the multifarious or the stencil or the pink frog, so I know I can add water and mess with my inks, the gel press, all those types of techniques. So for instance, if I show you, and paint, so this one, again, this will be, let me feel, the multifarious is slightly more smooth, so this is the stencil card that I've just sprayed some, cleaning my brayer when I've been doing paint on the gel press. Brilliant, I can now stamp on that, but I know I can flick water. The watery technique with the acrylic block like we've done before, these were all practice pieces. And again, look at this, beautiful. And, well, look at that. Obviously, I use the back as well. Look at that, how flat it is. So they're just background. So I know that all these, and look at this, this was a workshop I did, creating a faux wood background. So that's on the stencil card, and that's using inks. I may do a workshop on that, a pre-recorded one for you. And that's a lovely, lovely way of just creating faux wood, great for men's cards. So I'll put those to one side and we'll do something a bit crafty. So as I say, I thought, just to clarify, so what I'm going to get a piece of this. Now, this is the stencil card I'm using today. As I say, I could use the multifarious, but that's my best one. So I'm just going to use a piece of this because I'm just going to make a random background. Now, the reason, one of the techniques that one of the ladies specifically asked was where you use your inks on your mat. And again, I'm only going to lightly touch on this because I'm going to do one of my pre-recorded workshops. Now I'm feeling a bit better. We've got 6 under our belts, and thank you to those ladies who've been subscribing, and I promised I'd get another one done this week. So perhaps tomorrow I'll record a workshop and we'll do this as a workshop technique. And it's just the one where you put your ink on your mat, spritz it with water, and again, as soon as you're introducing water to that card, obviously you want it to be a card that you know will take the water. So we'll dip it in a few times. Now again, normally I would have a spare piece of card, clean that up. Now I'm using oxides, so the thing with oxides, oh look, we've got an Eric hair there. Eric's been in my craft room. I'm gonna have to remove that, aren't I? We could call it, do you think it's called mixed media if you have a dog hair on your work? Bless him. He knows, especially if I'm not feeling too well. So he's been sat under my craft table looking after me. So with your oxides, it's important, because they're a hybrid, because they're a blend of your pigment and your dye-based ink, you need to heat them before, and always heat from the back. And I know that this card will go lovely and flat, because that's the other thing to watch, if the card warps too much. And that's something that ladies have said, if it warps too much, whereas this I know. So we'll just, I'm only going to do 2 colours, because as I say, we'll do a full depth hours workshop on this. But I'll just dab a bit of, we'll have a bit of blue. And I'll clean that up. Right, and the heat tool on again. So again, you're just force drying it. And heat from the back. Does 2 things. Helps flatten your card. And also, obviously, as that water's soaking through, just want it touch dry. Now again, I would love to do a lot more to that, but we'll just go with 2 colours, because really it's just showing you the card. So again, a good quality cardstock. Look, I've added 2 lots of water there, dried it, and it's more or less flat now. And that's because you've got a good GSM and because of that low chalk content. So if I rub this, it's flat. Can you see? It's not gone pulpy and bitty. So again, any of those techniques with your brush hole powders. So like I said, that's when you're asking what type of cardstock you want. So what we'll do is we'll just stamp this up and make it into something. So I'm hoping that answers a few questions, and I'm hoping you can maybe go into that search engine, Mr. Google, and have a look, certainly for any of those 3 companies I've mentioned, and see if you can get it wherever you live. But my gut feeling for me personally, once I found a cardstock that I can use, I mean, I do save every little bit of it, every little scrap. So if I've got little pieces like these, I will just ink this up, and that'll be a perfect top, especially for, dare I say, Christmas. So, because I love white space, so I could stamp on that and then just add some splats of water around it. So, but the cardstock is important to me, and all my cardstock, as I say, I can add water to it. So I'm thinking of stamping this tree, and this is the Weeping Willow tree. And again, so because I've got the acetate, and it just helps me think, because this, with it having the splodges on, let's see, depending which way round, it really does. You see, I don't like that, because almost this is too yellow and that's too blue. It almost looks like 2 different spaces to me. Whereas if I've got the blue going across there, I think that looks so much better. And this is like the sky, and I'm thinking I put my moon there. So I'm going for that way. Remember to use your acetate. So I do think, I love trees, and I think they're great for men's cards. Backgrounds like this are great, and I love making cards that I can send to a man or a lady or a couple. Sometimes I think if we're not careful, we almost send flowery cards to a couple. And so I do love trees. I think there's just something, especially this time of year, I mean the colours. So I'm going to stamp it on the side. So I'm going to come in here. I mean, I do love autumn colours. It was very foggy this morning. The sun's just come out here, but it was really, really foggy this morning, first thing. So I hope the weather's nice where you are. Mind you, again, it depends on what time of day or night you're watching, doesn't it? I know some ladies catch up sort of overnight before they go to bed. I hope that doesn't mean that I'm boring and send you to sleep. Well, that was a message on my iPad pinging. Sorry about that. Right, so I'll give that a good few minutes. And again, because it's a wet surface, it will take the ink time to soak in. Now, as you can see, I've got a little bit there. Obviously, I haven't dried it properly, so it's not a problem because we get out with the Sharpie. Now, I could paint it in. It's my own fault. I should have spent a bit longer drying, but do you know what? We haven't got time to watch me dry. But also, if you do that at home, this is how you get round it. So remember, dot it in. So just dot it in. Don't draw, don't colour, dot. Almost like your pixels. Think of a picture's made up of lots of little pixels, and nobody will ever know. What I'm going to do now with my fine liner is I just want to extend. Tracy's drawn these lovely roots, and I'm sure she won't mind if I just extend them a little bit. For me, that just sort of elongates and extends the design a bit. So I'm just patting that dry. We'll grab the moon mask, and I just want to keep to the same colour group. So it's peacock feathers. I'm just going to, I don't want to put my moon mask there. I think that would look really ridiculous right on top. So let's just offset it a little. Just offset it there. Can you see? I used my permanent ink on it, so my acetate's nicely stained. But it doesn't matter, it's dry. So I'm just going to go around with the blue. And obviously because there's quite a lot of orange in this corner, I think the blue's going to show up really well. Now remember, don't lift your mask off. Let's have a look. Oh, I'm happy with that at the top. Check the bottom. No, need a bit more at the bottom. So it's worth just lifting it up. Check. Don't lift it off. Yeah, happy with that now. I think that balances it so well. Now, let's add a bit of shade there. Now, let's see. Can we tear that sort of shape? Sort of like that, isn't it? What do you think? Yeah, there we go. That's sort of like that. So let's do a bit of grounding. We've got some blue there anyway. Let's just add a bit more. And like we do, don't lift it off, just lift it up and have a look. Yeah, you see how that is grounding it beautifully. I mean, obviously you'd think using blue on blue, tone on tone, but it's enough. Yeah. Now, that just drops off a bit there too much, doesn't it? I don't like that. So we'll just extend that, I think. Just add a bit more. Nobody'll ever know we've done that, will they? Lift that up. There we go. That looks better, doesn't it? You see, with it just extending there. I like that. Happy with that. Now, what I am going to do is just stamp. I've got this. This is the Sacred Spells. And I'm going to keep with that blue. And I'm using my oxide ink. I could use my VersaFine Clair if I wanted it to be crisp, but the oxide will almost just take it into the distance a bit. And remember, arrow on the back of the stamp so we know the verse is the correct way up. Sorry if you got my head on then. Oh, it's so much better to be able to talk and breathe at the same time, you know. Wasn't funny. Oh yeah, that's lovely, isn't it? Look at that. So again, all we've used here, again, it's important, your card, the right cardstock. We've used 2 colours of ink, a permanent ink, bit of torn paper. Job done. So we could put it on black card, but again, you've got to buy black card, and I'm thinking, you know, let's save the pennies. But also it can add weight if you're going to post it. So we could blend, you could get some black ink and blend it round the edge, but just for speed, and also, to be honest, because I want to keep all these mottled areas. Oh, I didn't go right to the edge there, did I? Teach me. See, I'm not busy talking. I mean, again, I could have added 3 colours, but sometimes it's nice just to keep with the 2. But experiment, have a go. So, one more side. And again, when you've done this, always remember, clean your ruler. Keep everything clean, you've less chance of making those marks. Now we want a sentiment, and I've got this lovely sentiment. You know, this is one of my favourites. A time to reflect on one's life and hold what is close to our hearts. I think it's important to do that at the minute. So again, use your acetate, which I carefully put to one side. Just to see. Now on my original, I popped it up here. Now on this one, I quite like it down there. I've actually got a little butterfly. I won't add it now, but when I've finished, I'm going to add it there, because I think it looks nicer here. I don't like it there. On this one, I like it here. This will be lovely if you wanted to make some notelets, or if you wanted to batch card make them. And I must admit, I get bored when I'm batch card making, but even just changing where you put the sentiment can help. Try and get this one straight. Give that a minute to soak in. Lift up. Lovely. Last little thing, let's add just a little bit of sparkle on these so it's glistening. this morning it was foggy, as I say, and we took Eric for a walk down the lane. But you know, there must have been a lot of spiders out at the minute, and I think we must have had a bit of rain on the spiders' webs, but they were just catching beautifully. I actually got Carl's phone and took a photo of one because it just looked, I'll put it on my blog later, it looked so beautiful. So I'd love that sort of, so let's just get a bit of reflection on there from the moon. Just so, I don't know if you can see that, just so it just glints a little, look. And again, we have got the words, a time to reflect. So I think that on a piece of, oh, there we go, piece of white card, that's a bit big, but never mind, I didn't cut one to size. If I put that out of the way, so that's the one I've done. That's the one I did before. So I'm thinking this one just needs a little butterfly there, which I'll put on. So that's really just to remind you of those cardstocks that I personally, and again, depending where you live, and if you find a good one, just pop it in the comments. And if you say where you live, please, because there may end up being another crafter in your area who is looking for a good cardstock. But I can certainly recommend the multifarious cardstock from Lavinia Stamps, the stencil cardstock from Clarity Stamps, and the reverse of Centura Pearl, I think that's Crafter's Companion, and then Pink Frog cardstock 300 GSM in the UK. So they're the ones that I use and would recommend. And as I say, if you have a good one from where you live, as long as it's got a low chalk content and we can splash lots of water at it, as you know, we love our watery techniques. So I'm going to go and rest my voice a little bit. Thank you very much for joining me today, and thank you for all your lovely comments. I really, really do appreciate them. Take care, everybody. Love and hugs. Bye for now.